So the last time we drove the M5, it was the sedan. We raced it against its rivals, we drove it on the road, and decided that it was a slightly flawed car. But this is the Wagon. It's the one that can do everything. You know, like if you're gonna have one car for the rest of your life, it's like a desert island car. Right. What do you want when you're on a desert island?
Water.
Burgers.
Burgers.
It's burgers.
So I meant burgers.
Yeah, so we're gonna go on a little mini road trip and get some really good burgers.
And then we're gonna go to North Korea to return that jacket.
What the hell?
Okay, the question is the new M5 Touring quick enough to escape the demilitarized zone to get away from North Korea?
This is Matty Matheson's clothing company, okay? It's Canadian made. I'm just supporting local. Whoa, Jesus.
Okay, answer is yes, it's still bloody quick.
Good God, this thing is quick.
Yeah. And the journey begins.
Last time we reviewed the M5, we came away a little cold on it. It didn't inspire, it didn't feel like it moved the game forward, and, well, it's fat. But we left room in our review. We said an M5 is something that gets accepted over time, and it's been some time. And I've been living with this properly for a week now. So as we head into the beautiful spring flat landscape that is rural Ontario, it's time to reflect. And get James's thoughts as well.
All right, let's just calm down a little bit here.
Okay, well, hang on.
It's a touring.
I know, I got a lot to do, so
Okay.
hang on. Okay, so that and then M mode, we're going to go to
that
road.
just changes the gauge cost, so that's separate.
Setup.
Setup. Okay, so we got what do we want here? We want
Comfort.
drivetrain comfort, energy recovery. I don't understand that.
Comfort, chassis, comfort.
Steering sport. Otherwise, it's too light. Trust
Base
me.
comfort.
If we want four-wheel drive, normal four-wheel drive. Oh, you can't. That's only configurable with the DSC off. So okay, so go back.
Because I've got.
So you were, but the DSC's on. So why can't you go normal?
Now I can.
Now you can.
Okay.
That was confusing.
Right.
There we go. Simple.
The calmest version of an M5 Touring.
Yes. I will give the new M5 credit. It does have that duality.
Right.
Of it is a calm. I like the fact that it can be fully electric. That's really nice, right? You start it up in the morning, you don't upset your neighbors.
It's quiet.
It's efficient, the whole thing.
Changing gears in parking lots,
Right.
nice and
Yes.
speedy.
But then you saw when you push the M2 button, you've got it set up to the craziest stuff, and then you do 14 other things. It lights up its rear tires, makes a ton of noise, and as we have shown previously, it is blisteringly fast.
Well, faster than its competitors.
Yes, it is.
So that makes you wonder. Maybe the Touring is brilliant, and
Maybe,
then
maybe
you
the
add
Touring has brought it up to where.
I think, and we'll go over the looks in a bit when we
Yeah.
get to our burgery destination and fill our tummies.
Yeah.
But potentially the Touring has fixed this car.
Potentially.
Potentially.
Slight problem. I've been living with this car for a week.
On purpose.
On purpose.
I
didn't accidentally live with it.
No, but I made sure you lived with it for a
Yes.
week so that we could have.
By design.
Yeah, a more so in case there was a bad day or a
Yep.
good day, we'd get the Thomas aggregate of what living with this car would be like. Maybe you'd find the joy.
Aggregate's not the word. Aggravation
Wow.
is the word, because I think that this M5.
We learned last time we drove the M5 that it had to weigh this much because it had to be a hybrid, because of ever more oppressive emissions regulations. And we learned that BMW has tried to reduce the visual noise in their interiors and take on a more avant-garde approach to styling. But before James and I had enough time to begin to evaluate the merits of this approach in the more practical Wagon body style, we were distracted by a group of fellas who might actually get along with the M5's new design choices.
Gen Z.
Yeah.
Gen Z.
They're waving at the camera. Yeah, they love it. They're teenagers. They don't care.
Gen Z love the M5.
Yeah.
And who's the next generation? Them. They're the future.
Yeah. There's a lot of broccoli in that one car.
A lot of broccoli.
So much broccoli.
You gotta introduce
Imagine
some
the
other
farts.
you need-
Imagine the farts.
You need some more vegetables in that salad, boys.
Okay, anyway. The ride.
The ride.
Can I talk about the ride for a minute?
I don't think it's a deal breaker.
It is a deal breaker. Let me explain. Right now on the road and going over small little bumps, it's actually okay.
Yeah.
The ride itself for everyday livability is fine. but the performance of the suspension is heavily compromised by the weight.
The only vehicles I've experienced overcome their weight are EVs, just because their center of gravity is so low.
Yes, and this doesn't have that, which means that in a corner, if there's a bump, which there happens to be occasionally in the world,
Yeah.
it will heave. It heaves and it can't manage its weight.
Yeah.
And you'll notice, even though the ride is decently soft, if you go over a bump, there's one extra suspension movement. This is a German car. It's supposed to be one and done. That, I think, is a law in Germany.
Yes. Yeah.
And this is
actually,
not
it's
doing
a law
that.
it's definitely a law in China.
It does this.
That's to do with children.
What? All right, before we get there, this is no different to the regular M5 that we drove.
The interior.
The interior. Well, there's way more space in the trunk, obviously.
Tons. As
Actually,
we will demonstrate now.
quite a lot.
Yeah.
Quite a lot. But I have the same issues with this that I had with the other M5 we drove, which is that I think it's a downgrade in materials from the previous generation and in functionality. There you go.
It is.
It is.
Aesthetically, I like it. I like the lack of visual noise.
Quick, James, point the vent at your face.
Hang on.
You just want some air on your face real quick. You just go to the menu. So now is that off or on?
You haven't got used to this in a week?
No, because I still don't understand how the friggin' thing works.
The whole point of the week was you would be like, actually, you do
Look
get used.
how complicated that is. That's insane. Why is it like that?
What bothers me is that, so again, visually I like it. I think this, I just got out of the new Audi S5.
Yeah.
And they've gone really weird with their steering wheel, much more boring.
Yes.
BMW's gone more fun.
That is a good steering wheel.
It's a great steering
I like
wheel.
it. I like it.
This stuff still, the haptic to touch feels really underwhelming.
It is. Also, it is so fingerprinty and gross right now.
Yeah.
And why is this bit of plastic so cheap compared to all of the other parts?
The CarPlay works?
The CarPlay has been fine. Yeah, I've got no issues with that. It's the
you go.
hugest CarPlay that's ever been in a car.
I like giant CarPlay.
You like giant CarPlay?
On resto mods, I like tiny CarPlay.
Yes.
I just don't like medium-sized CarPlay.
Right, that's when it feels cheap.
Yeah. And it fills the screen, and the bezel's not too bad. Like, as I said,
yeah.
the S5, they tried to do this big Audi-style bezel,
Yeah.
which just makes it look like it has giant bezel. This, despite being completely generically to long screen, works well. I'm starting to develop a thought now that we're miles into this.
Okay.
People have accused the M5 of being the new M7 because everything's just got a bigger.
Yes,
Right? Like the
that's
M2
true.
is the new M3, the M3
Yeah,
is the new M4.
why would you get a 7?
It's not that different in price, and it's more luxurious. The ride is better. The back seats are roomier.
Significantly better.
I don't know. We'll deal with that
You
more.
can't get a wagon.
You can't get a
You
wagon.
can't get a wagon. And that is why we're doing this little trip to get some burgers,
Yeah.
because we are very importantly carting around one of the camera cases that couldn't fit in the camera car.
Yeah, because you love wagging it. Wagon.
I'll wagon all
Wagoning
day.
it.
I'll wagon. We'll cut this part out of the video.
Yeah, she called me wagging it. She called me
She didn't catch him doing anything though, because that would be rude. Also, the M5 is no place for that sort of stuff. That's what side-of-the-road, dodgy-looking motels are for. But the first one we stopped at was already famous for something else.
That's it. It's the motel from Schitt's Creek.
That's the one. It doesn't say Rosebud Motel on it though.
No, they must CGI the name on it.
I feel like we don't always get to turn up to TV sets and
That's
stuff.
pretty cool.
And you don't get this in your country either.
What kind?
Well, it's government-controlled television,
for
isn't
God's
it?
sake. It's...
Just saying. Ooh, David.
No, you don't get to do a Schitt's Creek line. I'm going to do a Schitt's Creek.
Go on.
Kids, Moira. Okay, let's go.
You got out your system?
Let's go.
Okay.
Look, you have to know when to fold in the cheese. Anyway, finally out of the traffic, it was my turn to drive.
All right, let's see what happens in full dynamic plus mode for everything.
Yeah, because I will say, this journey so far, all the miles I've covered in that seat, I've really got on with it. And minus the bit of bumpy and ridey and it feeling heavy. We know straight line is monstrous.
Absolutely monstrous.
I love the way that the powertrain gets on with everything. The EV and the gas side of it all is perfectly calibrated in a way that I didn't remember it being like that in the XM. which shares this setup.
Yeah, this is like the XM powertrain, but more. It still feels like a BMW in the corners in terms of the way the steering feels, how it weights off center.
Exactly. Close, yeah.
Right?
Blindfold, it's an M5.
Yeah, it definitely is that, and that it can control its mass in terms of not leaning very well.
Right.
But it can't deal with the bumps because it weighs too much. And for me, that's where it falls down, because I agree, it did this trip easily.
Yes.
Quickly, smoothly, quietly, comfortably. It was a 5 Series. And now, I'm pushing it here, and it's obviously able to just slice through these corners.
Yeah.
But there's just too much weight to it. And you can't get away from it, and it's frustrating.
And well, we're holding it to a very high standard because right now you're driving car enthusiast royalty, a performance wagon.
Yes. And it needs to be perfect, and it isn't.
Well, also, it has a rival. It has the RS6.
And the RS6, I'm gonna say it, is a better car. I think if you take this on a track and you light up the rear tires, which BMW wouldn't let us do, they've said they'll let us do it later, but not with this one.
Yeah, there is a future one we're allowed to track.
They wouldn't let us do it with this one. I think that's where you would go, all right, I'll take the M5, but that doesn't happen very often.
Well, I think this powertrain, in some ways, is more exciting. You said that the RS6, being a sleeper, should wake up, and it doesn't quite do that.
No.
And neither of them wake up the way the previous E63 did. And currently it's still rumor whether an E63 is coming. But
And the problem is that the previous Gen M5, I wasn't a huge fan of it, but my last memory of it is the M5 CS.
I know.
And that is not only a better M5, that's one of the best cars ever made, full stop.
Imagine that as a wagon.
Oh my God.
Matte green.
Oh yes.
With the M buckets.
Preach.
I don't know how they do it, but the trunk would also be carbon bucketed.
It'd just be a bucket carbon trunk.
Or those miniature, you know those little seats you get facing out back when you grow up? Those as buckets.
Oh,
yeah, that
you
felt,
feel that?
That's a bit scary, actually.
The whole thing heaves. It's not. And then Chris Harris just took this on the track, and it overheated its rear diff in one big slide. And he said that it doesn't handle its mass at Landau very well.
To be fair, and I know that finding the limit is important, but no one's drifting their M5, even though they can. And I say this as a Golf R owner that can drift. I've never drifted my Golf R.
You know how many times I drifted my M2?
How many times?
In the video that we made at the beginning when we bought it, and then after that.
So we're huge hypocrites. We're like, well,
times.
when you put it in two-wheel drive, start drifting it. Which means it actually has to be great outside of that.
Yes.
And because you're not doing that, the drive and the way you can get on with the RS6 from the inside
is superior.
But I put it to you.
Okay.
We're hangry.
Maybe we are hangry.
We haven't had our burgers
Maybe
yet.
it's time for some burgers.
And then let's have a look at the outside when we're all warm and fuzzy and stuff.
Yes, okay. All right, let's do that.
Finally, we made it to our destination, an intersection in a reasonably nondescript part of Ontario, where, like the M5 and the RS6, one must choose between two long-standing nameplates that face off with each other. In this case, it's Champ Burger versus Super Burger.
Okay, the rivalry to be tested.
Yes.
Does one of these places represent an RS6 and the other represents an M5?
Ooh.
But what does that
This
even
isn't
mean?
my drink. May I have my drink?
We have a history on Throttle House of drinking and eating our team stuff.
Am I filming you eating my burger right now, James?
Yes, that's someone's sweet tea. There we go. Ooh. Brilliant, thank you.
Look
Oh
at
my
that.
God.
You got the knife?
Okay, so that's a Super Burger.
This is a Super Burger. Thank you. I'm glad you complimented it.
This is a Champ Burger.
God, they're so condescending. Okay, champ.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, there's like peppers and stuff and everything on there.
Yes, this is a superior burger.
Look. Oh, why is there 14 patties on it? What is happening?
So which one's the M5 and which one's the RS6? Is it the one that wins is the RS6?
No, the M5's been around for longer.
Technically,
That's been around for longer.
and it's got a bit more meat on the bone.
That's right. Yeah.
More
that's right.
patties.
Well, it's a bit heavier.
A bit more going on.
Yeah.
More performance.
Okay, I'm gonna try this one. Here we go.
Okay.
That's a good burger. That's a damn good burger. All right, switch. Super Burger's better.
That means the M5 is better.
Damn it, that ruins my conclusion.
Okay, so here's where I'm at.
Okay, from this angle, that looks awesome right now. That looks genuinely cool, right? Mm-hmm. Quad tailpipes, M5, proper wagon.
This is the best possible trim for the M5. Any
Yes.
new BMW looks better in black,
But
and
not,
this looks better as a wagon.
but not matte black.
Not matte black?
It is impossible to keep clean.
Yeah, well, we've in
Impossible.
Ontario winter somehow in April 11th.
Yeah.
I think it looks bulbous, it looks big. People like the sharpness, they like the loudness versus like the RS6 sleeper look.
Yeah.
I sort of prefer the RS6 look.
I like the look of the RS6 better. I like the way the wheels sit within the arches better. I think it's got better proportions.
But the wagon does improve this.
It improves it, yes. But I mean, it really needed some improvement.
You chose it.
Oh no, it is really good though.
I've got on with that car a lot today. A lot. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Still feels scary in the corners, which is what the RS6 didn't. Neither did the E53.
No.
In like a good BMW way. One of them has to still be scary. You're gonna finish both burgers. That thing weighs 5,500 pounds. It doesn't need any more of you in it.
We're gonna double the weight today. Can voiceover Thomas handle?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I'm coming back for M5 burger.
Okay.
VoiceOver Thomas is here to tell you that while the M5 Touring improves on the new M5, I don't think it redeems it entirely. It still suffers from lardiness and a lack of delicacy, at least in the areas that M cars historically have excelled at. As we discovered, the new M5 is a very fast, very usable daily. But where the RS6 is more honest about its strengths, the M5 postures as an up-on-its-toes Siberian tiger from M Division, when really, sometimes it feels more like Garfield. Great, now I want lasagna. Thanks for watching. Mom, what's for dinner?